In today's world, work is no longer just a way to survive. It's become a performance, a status symbol, and in many cases, an addiction. We glorify hustle, romanticize exhaustion, and equate being busy with being valuable. Burnout isn't seen as a warning sign anymore. It's become a badge of honor. The more drained you are, the more dedicated you seem. But deep down, we all know this model is broken. We've been conditioned to chase productivity at the cost of peace, believing that more output equals more success. But what happens when you reach your goals and still feel empty? The modern work dilemma isn't about working too much. It's about working without direction, without control, and without purpose. We burn ourselves out chasing external rewards while ignoring the inner life that actually keeps us whole. The Stoics faced a different world, but their insights speak directly to ours. They didn't work for applause. They worked for virtue, for inner excellence. For them, the goal of work was not to impress, but to align your actions with your values, to do your duty, without being enslaved by the outcome. The Stoic doesn't chase burnout. The Stoic works with calm, clarity, and control. This video isn't a guide to doing less. It's a guide to doing better, by thinking better. Because the Stoic way isn't about retreating from effort. It's about engaging with it consciously, wisely, and with discipline. You don't need to quit your job to find peace. You just need to change how you show up to it. One of the cornerstones of Stoic philosophy is the concept of control. Epictetus famously taught that some things are within our control. Our thoughts, our actions, our intentions, and some things are not. Like other people's opinions, outcomes, or random events. Burnout often arises when we obsess over the uncontrollable, constantly trying to bend reality to our will. In the workplace, this shows up when we overwork to please our bosses, chase impossible deadlines, or compare ourselves endlessly to others. The Stoic doesn't ignore challenges. They just don't waste energy on things outside their control. If a project fails despite their best effort, they accept it. If someone criticizes them unfairly, they don't spiral into defensiveness. They simply adjust their actions and move forward. This mental shift is liberating. When you focus only on what you can control, your effort, your preparation, your attitude, you experience a strange kind of freedom. You're no longer shackled to external validation. You become calmer, more resilient, and ironically, more effective. Because your energy isn't wasted on worry. It's focused on what matters. Working like a Stoic doesn't mean being passive. It means being precise. You cut through the noise, let go of what you can't change, and give your best to what you can. That's not laziness, that's mastery. The Stoic doesn't work harder, they work wiser. The modern worker is often driven by pressure, deadlines, expectations, fear of falling behind. But the Stoic is driven by purpose. While others rush to meet external demands, the Stoic slows down to ask, why am I doing this? Is this aligned with my values, or am I just reacting to noise? Without a clear purpose, work becomes a treadmill, endless motion without meaning. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, governed an empire while facing wars, plagues, and betrayal. Yet in his private writings, he constantly returned to one question. Is what I am doing today aligned with my duty as a human being? Not as an emperor, not as a man of power, but as a rational, moral soul. That question grounded him. It reminded him that his job wasn't just to work, but to work with intention. When you work from purpose instead of pressure, your energy flows differently. You're no longer performing, you're participating. Your actions gain clarity, your choices feel grounded, and your work starts to nourish you instead of draining you. That's the paradox of Stoic effort. When you stop chasing success, you often become more successful, because you're no longer distracted by ego. Burnout happens when you give your time but not your heart. Stoicism reverses that. It invites you to put your heart into what matters and release the rest. With purpose as your compass, even the hardest days have meaning, and even the smallest tasks have dignity. Modern advice often tells us to find motivation before we act. But motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like the weather. The Stoics didn't wait to feel inspired. They believed in discipline, doing what needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. Because your emotions are temporary, but your actions shape your character. Seneca once wrote, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult." The Stoic doesn't ask, Do I feel like working today? They ask, what's the right thing to do right now? And then they do it. With calm focus, not emotional noise, they separate their feelings from their responsibilities. This is how you build endurance. Not by chasing passion, but by creating habits rooted in reason. The Stoic trains their mind like an athlete trains their body, through repetition, through consistency, through commitment to excellence, no matter how small the task. Over time, this discipline builds strength. Not just physical, but mental and emotional. When you replace motivation with discipline, burnout starts to fade. Why? Because you're no longer swinging between extremes of all or nothing. You become steady, reliable, grounded. You show up every day, not for applause, but because showing up is who you are. That is how the Stoic wins. Slowly, silently, but unshakably. One of the greatest sources of stress and burnout is our obsession with results. We want the promotion, the praise, the proof that our effort was worth it. But the Stoics teach us to detach from outcomes, not because results don't matter, but because they are never fully in our control. What matters is the quality of your effort, not the guarantee of success. Epictetus put it simply, you are not in control of external events. You are in control of how you respond. When you tie your happiness to outcomes, you give away your peace. Every setback becomes a personal failure. Every delay feels like defeat. But when you focus on process over prize, you regain your power. You stop needing things to go a certain way in order to stay centered. This doesn't mean apathy. It means clarity. You still work hard, still aim high, but you don't crumble if the results don't come. You trust that right effort leads to right growth, even if the timeline isn't yours to dictate. The Stoic finds fulfillment in doing the right thing well, not in whether the world claps afterward. Imagine the freedom of doing your best without obsessing over the rest. Imagine working from a place of stability, not anxiety. That's what Stoic detachment offers. Not indifference, but inner strength. A way to stay grounded no matter what comes, and to keep moving forward with grace. In the chaos of modern work culture, stillness feels like a luxury. Emails flood in. Notifications scream for attention. Every hour brings new demands. But the Stoic cultivates inner stillness, not by escaping the storm, but by standing calmly within it. They don't rush, even when others do. They don't react impulsively, even when chaos surrounds them. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. Stillness, for the Stoic, is a practice. It's the ability to pause before you respond, to breathe before you act, to step back before you speak. This doesn't slow you down, it sharpens your focus. In a noisy world, stillness is a superpower. When you're grounded, your decisions become deliberate. You don't just react to pressure, you respond with clarity. You can listen better, think deeper, and lead wiser. Stillness helps you resist the urge to multitask mindlessly or chase every urgent task like a firefighter. Instead, you become a strategist. You decide what matters and let go of what doesn't. This calm presence is what sets the Stoic apart in the workplace. While others are burned out from constant reactivity, the Stoic preserves energy by staying composed. It's not about being slow, it's about being solid. In the storm of modern work, the Stoic is not the loudest. They are the still point the storm cannot shake. The modern workplace often encourages competition. Who can work harder, stay longer, produce more? But Stoicism doesn't thrive on rivalry. It thrives on community. The Stoic understands that true strength is cooperative, not cutthroat. You're not here to outshine your colleagues. You're here to contribute with integrity. Seneca wrote that we are born for mutual assistance. The Stoic doesn't treat others as obstacles to their own success, but as fellow travelers on the same road. They support, mentor, and collaborate without ego. In doing so, they create trust. And trust is a powerful antidote to burnout. When you feel connected, respected, and supported, work becomes more than a grind. It becomes a shared pursuit of excellence. Burnout is magnified in isolation. When we feel like we're alone in the struggle, we exhaust ourselves trying to carry everything alone. But in a Stoic mindset, humility replaces pride. You learn to ask for help without shame, to delegate without guilt, and and to lift others up as you climb. Because your value doesn't decrease when someone else shines. It multiplies. Working like a Stoic means building an environment where well-being and excellence grow together, where the goal isn't to win alone, but to succeed together. You stop seeing others as threats and start seeing them as mirrors, reflecting your values, testing your patience, sharpening your character. In this, your work becomes not just sustainable, but meaningful. A Stoic doesn't postpone happiness until after the work is done. They find joy in the present moment, even in the work itself. While others grind through tasks waiting for the weekend, the Stoic asks, "Can I find meaning in this moment? Can I bring virtue into this task?" It's not about romanticizing your job, it's about bringing intention into every action. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "Don't let your imagination be crushed by life as a whole. Stick with the present situation and ask, why is this so unbearable?" Often, it's not the task that exhausts us, but our resistance to it. When we stop fighting the moment and choose to be fully present, work becomes lighter, more grounded, even joyful. This presence transforms how we experience time. Instead of rushing through hours like a blur, the Stoic slows down and fully engages. Writing an email becomes a chance to practice clarity. A meeting becomes a chance to listen deeply. Even mundane tasks become spiritual training grounds. It's not about pretending everything is fun. It's about seeing that everything can be meaningful. Burnout thrives in a life lived on autopilot. Stoicism brings us back to awareness. It invites us to be alive now, not just when we hit a goal or finish a project. And in doing so, it teaches us the rarest skill in the modern world: how to work hard without hardening our hearts. In a culture that glorifies hustle, saying no can feel like failure. But to the Stoic, boundaries are not a weakness, they are a form of wisdom. Seneca warned against scattering your time and energy, reminding us that life is long if you know how to use it. The Stoic sets limits not to be selfish, but to protect what matters most: clarity, health, and virtue. Burnout often creeps in because we fail to guard our time. We say yes to every request, answer emails at midnight, and fill our calendars with tasks that don't align with our deeper values. The Stoic doesn't fall into this trap. They evaluate commitments carefully, asking, "Is this necessary? Is this aligned with my principles?" If not, they let it go, gently but firmly. Boundaries are also about respecting others. When you're clear about your limits, you teach others how to treat you, and you create space for them to do the same. This fosters healthier teams, clearer communication, and deeper trust. You're not overextending or people-pleasing. You're showing up with integrity and preserving your energy for what truly matters. To work like a Stoic is to work with intention. Not everything deserves your attention. Not every battle is worth fighting. When you master the art of saying no with grace, you make room to say yes to the right things, with presence, with energy, and with peace. In the eyes of the Stoic, rest is not indulgence. It's preparation. It's discipline. It's the necessary space where clarity returns and strength is rebuilt. Marcus Aurelius himself wrote about the need to retreat into oneself, to return to a place of calm in order to act with greater purpose. Rest, then, is not the opposite of work. It's part of working well. Burnout happens when we confuse constant motion with progress. But the Stoic knows that activity without reflection is just noise. Rest is the time to observe, to recalibrate, to return to yourself. It's not just about sleep, it's about silence, detachment, a pause that sharpens the next step. Even the sharpest blade becomes dull without rest. Even the strongest will can fracture if never restored. The Stoic doesn't wait for exhaustion to collapse. They plan for rest the way they plan for action. Breaks are not wasted time, they are sacred time. Whether it's a walk in solitude, a moment of breath between tasks, or a full day disconnected from the grind, rest is honored, not ignored. Because from that silence, wisdom emerges. In the Stoic life, balance is not found by accident, it is created by intention. A mind that rests deeply can think clearly. A body that pauses can act powerfully. And a soul that remembers its worth doesn't need to prove it through nonstop effort. In this way, rest becomes the most strategic act of all. In the midst of the modern workday, it's easy to get caught up in the rush. Tasks pile up. Deadlines loom. The pressure to do, to achieve, to move forward is ever present. But the Stoic knows that reflection is just as vital as action. Every day, the Stoic takes time to look back, to consider their thoughts, their actions, their reactions, and in doing so, they refine their character. Marcus Aurelius was famous for his daily habit of journaling, reflecting on his actions and thoughts. This practice was not one of self-criticism, but of self-awareness. By reviewing his day, he could see where he had aligned with virtue and where he had fallen short. Reflection for the Stoic is a tool for growth, not a source of shame. In the workplace, reflection doesn't mean overthinking or obsessing over every decision. It's about cultivating a quiet space to step back and assess. What went well today? Where could I have acted differently? What can I learn from this? These small moments of reflection, repeated daily, bring clarity and insight. They help you adjust course before burnout takes hold, ensuring that your effort remains aligned with your purpose. Reflection is how the Stoic ensures that their work is always in harmony with their values. It's how they continue to grow without getting lost in the grind. And in doing so, they are able to avoid burnout. Not by pushing harder, but by growing smarter. The modern workplace often feels like a whirlwind of external pressures, unexpected meetings, shifting deadlines, unclear expectations. But the Stoic focuses on what they can control and lets go of everything else. By cultivating this mindset, they transform what could be chaotic into a series of manageable actions, all grounded in their own choices. Epictetus famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." In the workplace, there will always be things beyond your control. A sudden change in direction, an unexpected problem, someone else's bad attitude. But you can always control your response. You can decide to remain calm, focused, and present. You can choose how to act, no matter the situation. When you let go of the need to control everything, the weight of stress lifts. You begin to see that your power doesn't lie in forcing the world to conform to your desires, but in mastering how you react. This allows you to approach your work with a sense of freedom. You're no longer chained to outcomes or external validation. You are free to focus on your process, knowing that the results will follow as a natural consequence of your actions. This Stoic approach doesn't make you immune to stress, but it does give you the tools to handle it effectively. By embracing what you can control and letting go of what you can't, you free yourself from the cycle of burnout. You create space to act with intention, to move forward with peace, and to work without losing yourself in the chaos. In the hustle of modern life, we're often taught to hold on tight, to push through, to keep climbing, to fight for what we want. But the Stoics teach us a powerful lesson: the art of letting go. It's not about quitting. It's about understanding when to release attachments to outcomes, to expectations, and even to things that once served us but no longer do. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." We hold on to things, be it goals, relationships, or beliefs, because we fear that letting go means failure. But holding on too tightly leads to tension, stress, and ultimately burnout. The Stoic doesn't fight against the current. They learn to go with it. They understand that some things are simply beyond their control, and that peace comes from releasing those things. Letting go means trusting that you've done your best and that you can step away from the outcome. It means accepting that not everything in life will unfold the way you want it to, and that's okay. In fact, that's part of the wisdom of living. When you stop forcing and start allowing, you create space for what truly matters to enter your life. This is where the Stoic finds true freedom, not in controlling everything, but in surrendering to the flow of life. By letting go of unnecessary attachments, you not only protect your energy, but also create room for new opportunities, growth, and peace of mind. It's a practice that allows you to embrace the fullness of life without being consumed by it. At the end of our work lives, what remains? It's not the number of projects completed or the accolades received, but the impact we've had on others, the way we've lived with purpose, and the example we've set. The Stoic understands that work is not just about personal success. It is about contributing to a greater good. Their legacy is not measured in titles or wealth, but in the values they embodied and the lives they touched. Marcus Aurelius, despite being an emperor, was concerned not with his own glory, but with how he could serve the people around him. His writings emphasize duty, humility, and integrity, principles that go far beyond personal achievement. To live like a Stoic is to build a legacy that outlasts you. It's to know that your work, your actions, and your words have the potential to inspire others long after you're gone. This Stoic mindset creates a deeper connection to your work. It shifts the focus from the transient to the enduring. Your daily tasks, while they may seem small in the moment, are part of something much larger. They're a reflection of the values you choose to live by and the kind of world you wish to help create. When your actions are guided by wisdom and virtue, they leave a mark that others can follow. In the end, the Stoic is not concerned with how much they've achieved for themselves, but with the kind of world they leave behind. The legacy they build is one of calm, clarity, and integrity. And that, more than any accolade or recognition, is the true measure of success. The Stoic view of life is not about reaching a final destination. There is no ultimate point where you can stop growing, stop learning, or stop improving. Life is a continuous journey of growth, reflection, and adaptation. The Stoic does not work towards an end goal of perfection, but embraces the process, knowing that true fulfillment comes from the pursuit itself. This mindset helps combat burnout by removing the pressure of always needing to be finished or perfect. Instead of focusing on outcomes, you focus on your actions. The goal is not to achieve, but to continuously refine your character, to grow a little bit each day, and to contribute meaningfully to the world around you. When you work like a Stoic, there is no finish line that leads to exhaustion. There is only an ongoing evolution toward greater wisdom, resilience, and virtue. Embrace this journey as a source of motivation rather than stress. You don't need to achieve every goal immediately or perfectly. The Stoic understands that true growth comes from the small, everyday choices. It comes from doing the right thing over and over, even when it feels difficult. This mindset allows you to progress without burning out because the journey itself becomes the reward. In the end, the Stoic's greatest strength is their ability to remain open to change, to embrace challenges as opportunities to learn, and to keep moving forward, no matter how slow the pace may seem. Life is not about racing to the end, but about walking with purpose, knowing that every step, no matter how small, is a step towards a better, more fulfilled self. Life's challenges are inevitable. Whether it's a difficult project at work, personal struggles, or unexpected setbacks, adversity will come. The Stoic, however, approaches these challenges not with fear or frustration, but with the calm assurance that they can handle whatever life throws their way. Their strength lies in their ability to maintain perspective in the face of hardship. Epictetus taught that difficulties are things that show what men are. It's not the challenge itself that defines us, but how we respond to it. When faced with adversity, a Stoic does not panic or succumb to despair. They pause, assess the situation, and decide on the best course of action. They understand that their reaction is within their control, and they focus on using their energy wisely. The Stoic approach to adversity isn't about avoiding pain or discomfort. It's about using those moments as opportunities for growth. Every challenge is a chance to practice resilience, to test your limits, and to deepen your understanding of what truly matters. In a world where stress and burnout often arise from the constant fear of failure, the Stoic remains steady, knowing that failure is not the end, but a part of the journey. By reframing adversity as a natural and valuable part of life, the Stoic is able to move through difficult situations without being consumed by them. They face challenges with courage and clarity, learning from each experience and becoming more capable with every trial. This mindset doesn't just prevent burnout, it fosters a deeper sense of purpose and fulfillment, no matter what life throws your way. In a world obsessed with more tasks, more possessions, more achievements, the Stoic reminds us that simplicity is the ultimate form of strength. The clutter of modern life often leads to burnout, as we stretch ourselves too thin, trying to manage everything. But for the Stoic, clarity comes from stripping away the unnecessary. By focusing only on what truly matters, they conserve their energy and direct it toward meaningful work. Seneca, in his letters, urged that we should not chase after things that distract us from our true purpose. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor, he said. This mindset allows the Stoic to find contentment in less. They don't accumulate possessions or tasks for the sake of it. Instead, they focus on what brings value and meaning into their lives, creating space for reflection, rest, and growth. Simplicity also applies to our mental and emotional landscapes. The Stoic works to simplify their thoughts, eliminating unnecessary worries and anxieties. They don't allow their minds to become cluttered with distractions or negative emotions. Instead, they focus on the present moment and cultivate a mindset of acceptance. This practice allows them to conserve mental energy and avoid the overwhelming feeling of burnout. By embracing simplicity, the Stoic not only avoids burnout, but thrives in a world that often encourages overwhelm. When we focus on what truly matters, we gain more energy, more clarity, and more peace. This simplicity is not about doing less. It's about doing what is essential with full presence and purpose. Amidst the noise and rush of modern life, the Stoic seeks something deeper, inner peace. This peace doesn't come from external success, recognition, or material wealth. It comes from mastering the internal landscape, controlling your thoughts, emotions, and reactions, regardless of the external circumstances. For the Stoic, peace is a choice, an inner state that remains unshaken by the chaos around them. The Stoic journey is one of self-mastery. It's about cultivating tranquility within, regardless of the circumstances. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, continually reminded himself to focus on what he could control, his own mind. By doing so, he was able to navigate the challenges of his reign as emperor with calmness and wisdom. The Stoic doesn't allow themselves to be overwhelmed by the demands of life. They prioritize their inner peace over the pursuit of external validation. This internal peace is what prevents burnout. The modern world encourages us to chase after constant achievement and success, leaving us exhausted and disconnected from ourselves. The Stoic, however, remains grounded. They understand that no amount of external success can bring true peace if the mind is not at rest. By practicing mindfulness, acceptance, and detachment, the Stoic creates an unshakable foundation of calmness that allows them to handle whatever life brings without becoming overwhelmed. Achieving inner peace doesn't mean avoiding hardship. It means meeting adversity with a calm mind and a steady heart. It means acknowledging that, while you cannot control everything around you, you always have the power to choose your response. In doing so, you protect yourself from burnout and maintain the clarity needed to live a life of purpose and fulfillment. In a world that values speed, the Stoic teaches the power of patience. We live in an age where instant gratification is the norm, where waiting seems like a waste of time. But for the Stoic, patience is not only a virtue, it's a strategic tool for navigating life with intention and grace. Rather than rushing through tasks or forcing results, the Stoic understands that some things take time, and true growth occurs gradually. Patience allows us to step away from the pressures of external expectations and focus on the process. It helps prevent burnout by teaching us that not everything needs to be accomplished right now. By practicing patience, we give ourselves permission to move at a sustainable pace, knowing that progress is made step by step. We stop trying to force outcomes and instead trust that everything unfolds in its own time. Seneca wrote, "Time is the most valuable thing a man can spend." This wisdom is a reminder that rushing through life often leads to unnecessary stress. The Stoic values time and uses it wisely, recognizing that the work done today, no matter how small, contributes to the long-term success. The Stoic embraces patience not as passivity, but as a powerful act of focus, allowing them to build something meaningful without burning out in the process. Patience, then, becomes a form of strength. It is the strength to endure, to stay committed to the process, and to trust that everything comes in its right time. By practicing patience, the Stoic prevents the fatigue that comes from constant rushing and ensures that their energy remains sustainable, their efforts meaningful, and their progress steady. The Stoic does not need to shout their success from the rooftops. They don't need applause, trophies, or viral recognition. Their greatest victories are silent, won in the quiet moments of discipline, clarity, and purpose. They win not by dominating others, but by mastering themselves. In a culture obsessed with external validation, the Stoic chooses something rarer: inner fulfillment. To win quietly means working with integrity even when no one is watching. It means staying consistent, grounded, and committed to your values without needing constant approval. The Stoic doesn't burn out chasing praise. They're fueled by something deeper. Their work is not a performance. It's an extension of who they are. And that quiet consistency is what builds a life of strength and substance. Living fully, then, is the natural result of living wisely. When you're no longer chasing every opportunity, fighting every battle, or proving your worth, you create space for rest, for joy, for relationships that matter. The Stoic doesn't just want to survive work, they want to thrive in life. By choosing peace over pressure, discipline over distraction, and purpose over popularity, they carve out a life that is truly their own. In the end, to work like a Stoic is to win on your own terms, without burnout, without chaos, without losing yourself. It's to find success not in how loudly the world applauds, but in how deeply you live each day, with intention, clarity, and peace. So, while the world burns itself out chasing more, you'll be somewhere else, calm, focused, steady. You won't be the loudest in the room, but you'll be the clearest. You won't win by force, you'll win by presence. Because working like a Stoic isn't about doing less. It's about doing what matters, with peace in your mind and purpose in your heart. Let them rush. Let them crash. You were built to endure. And that is how you win without burning out.